Circuit World of Blue Ridge presents Fan and Rebel Wrap-Up. I want to thank Papa's Pizza to Go for providing the meal for the players, also Pepsi for providing drinks, and for our players and coaches, and all of our Team FYN Sports sponsors. Don't forget, you can always follow us at Team FYN Sports on Twitter. Also find our Facebook page, Team FYN Sports, Instagram, Twitter, all the above. We're out there somewhere, right, Luther? We have head coach Chad Cheatham is here with us tonight. Rebels head coach Chad Cheatham. Wide receivers coach O'Neill is joining us this evening. On the couch in our first segment is number 32, junior running back and safety Traylon Owensby is with us. And also sophomore quarterback Luke Holloway, number 12, is with us. Now, folks, it's that time of year. We've been doing this for 5 years. Everything changes with me here. It's time to play region football. We're going to talk region football. We're going to talk about all the other teams that's in this region, give you highlights, things going on, because non-conference is over. We're going to ask Coach here in a minute what he was able to see, put together, make adjustments, and what he's working on with the off week to go in the region. But at this time, every week, what we will do is we will tell you where everybody stands in the region, who's in the region. So let's start right now with Region 3A. 3A, Region 7 has North Hall, Dawson, Lumpkin, Greater Atlanta Christian, East Hall, and a new school over at Flowery Branch this year is in the region, Cherokee Bluff, and that's who the Rebels will be playing in 2 weeks. Rebels coming off a 45-42 loss Chastity, and they have a home game open in the region on the 28th. Coach, not getting into, I was looking at the stats, and let's see how I can put this. Okay, I'm gonna try to put.
I'll tell you how I can put it.
I'm gonna try to put this very gentle.
All right.
You put up 508 yards on offense.
That's
you
right.
tell me, rest, Coach.
We probably gave up 600 yards on defense.
705.
Well,
Sorry.
500 of them came from number 3, I'm sure.
What I'm saying is talk to me about that back and forth. Now, when we get into penalty yards, there's 80 penalty yards,
Sure.
things like that.
And negated a 50-yard.
Exactly. I mean,
had those things in.
I mean,
Well, bottom line is we're 29-8 with a minute and 30 seconds left in the first half. We're 29-8. Our kickoff team didn't do the job that they needed to do. We gave them great field position. Ended up 29-16 at the halftime, and we talked about finishing. We knew exactly what they were going to do, and probably the whole world did. Once they figured out that they couldn't run in between the tackles and those screen games outside, they gave it to number 3, and that guy's special. And I mean, it was just a deal. It was a man among boys that we couldn't tackle. And he's probably still running somewhere around the Gainesville area.
Coach, let me ask you this though, but that game, like I said, let's talk about the first 4 games of the season.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say they don't count, so I'm not implying that. But as a coach, I'm thinking those are the 4 games that you need to see everything you want, adjust everything you want, and make the correction. So let's drill down into the 4 games, especially this one, but what the Fan and Rebels have to do going into region play.
And I said this earlier to you, and I think a lot of people would believe this. Minus a couple plays, a couple of key injuries, we're very close to being 3-1 as a football program right now. I mean, we played 3 4A schools, and then a very good Union County school. So I feel good about where we're at and where we're going. Defensively, we understand we got to get more beef on the field, and we've got to get a 4-man front and try to start putting some pressure on some people, doing some other things there instead of just sitting and letting people find us. Offensively, we're moving the ball. We're starting to click up front a little bit. Our kids on the offensive line graded out real good. 508 yards. I mean, you would think should win a football game in 42 points. I would think, but number 3 is that good, and Sean Conley and his staff do a great job, and they went to the horse, and he took it to us.
Well, let me ask you a question, because you've said that a couple times, so I want to follow up on what you're telling me here, where the team's concerned in 4 games. You say number 3 is that good, And in all due respect, the next team, and I say this to the guys here, there's going to be a number that's good, and the next team's going to be a number that's good.
That's
so,
right.
so I mean, what are you talking to about the team as far as, hey, number 3 is that good? I watched film today on Chestatee, but just that being said, you're in region play now, and every team you go into,
right.
you could pick a different number, and they're that good.
Well, you know, you have to, obviously, you take 1 week at a time and one scheme at a time. With those guys, you're looking at the spread game, and you know, a featured guy. When we go to Cherokee Bluff, we're going to see a spread team, but with several featured guys. You know, they're going to spread the ball around, and a good senior quarterback, some young receivers, a couple of good corners on the edge. You got a guy that can really hit it up in there. So, like I said, defensively, we're trying to make adjustments to heavy the box up a little bit, to give us a little more bodies up there to be able to tackle, push the line of scrimmage, et cetera, et cetera. And then offensively, I think we got to continue just to get better at what we're doing and running the football downhill. And I think we can. If we can't, we've got the opportunity to go to the edges if we need to.
Well, Coach, going off of running the football downhill, rushing 307 yards, and we've got tonight Traylon Owensby 239 yards, averaging 8.9 yards a carry. Let me ask you something, Traylon. With 4 games in, good game, 239 yards. But are you starting to see, obviously, with these kind of numbers and carries, and getting almost averaging 9 yards a carry, that you're really getting into sync with your front line when you get a hold of the ball, your front line, and you're all coming together?
Yeah, we're definitely turning into one. I mean, they're really busting their butts now.
So let me go with you, Luke. As a sophomore quarterback, you know, you've got you had 18 yards carrying the ball, but 9 for 19. And the film I watched today, we got one of the guys here. The film I watched today, it looks like you're really starting to get into sync, and your timings. You know, the first game of the season I watched, it's like your receivers were one step off, or maybe you were just a fraction off of you guys connecting. That's starting to really happen for you guys. Do you see that? And plus, you know, 2 interceptions. I know you had 2 touchdown passes, but 2 interceptions, 9 for 19. How do you feel with working with the and I know Kendall's here. I'm gonna get in trouble.
He was right, Chandler Kendall.
Oh, okay. I didn't call him Donnie.
No.
Oh, now I'm gonna get in trouble. I didn't want to leave without getting in trouble. But talk about the timing and the connection that you're making with your receivers at this point in the year.
I feel like the timing's definitely got better. And like you said, I had 2 interceptions, but for the most part, those were just on me. And that's just a mental thing for me. I feel like me and my receivers have a really good connection. Going into region playing, I think we'll be good.
All right, I want both of you to respond. Whoever wants to go first. You know, I'm asking Coach some of the tough questions, but you know, you guys know that these first 4 games, things like getting in sync with your line, things like minimizing penalties, not having, you know, a 50-yard play called back, losing that, getting your timing with your receivers. You guys know all that's got to start happening going into region play. So with this week off and next week being 1-3 right now, what do you got to do this week? I mean, what are you guys working on, and what do you guys analyze and say, this has to stop, this has to get better as a squad, individually, or whatever? You guys both take that.
I just feel like it's the mental things for us and playing unselfish football. Like you said, we're 1-3, and I think we can kind of use our last week's loss as motivation to work harder for next week.
What about you? What do you think you guys have to do? I know you're also a safety, and what do you guys have to do this week and next week to get ready for region play? Take the 4 games, mash it together, and say this has to happen for us to turn this. I'm going to say turn it around or get into contention, because it's a power. You guys are in a power region.
Sure,
that's just that. Go ahead.
I think we need to go back to our fundamentals with errors on the field, with passing interference and flag game. That's really starting to hurt us.
Coach, O'Neal, let me ask you, because working with the wide receivers, it hasn't been a lot of time between you on that field and on the center of the field and the sideline, correct? So glad to have you on the sideline working with these guys. But as a wide receivers coach, exactly what I was talking to Luke about. What are you seeing with the timing from game one to this one here, and the way he is working with the receivers and they're responding with the routes?
Well, the hardest thing I would say about getting your timing down is it's hard to simulate your drill work in practice at game speed. So your timing in the game is usually off the first couple because the speed is so much faster. But the more games we play, which has proven to be true so far, the more in sync we've been. So, which I believe is an improvement.
So you can't simulate your opponent to a T in practice, but the goal is to get yourself to where you adjust immediately once you hit the live field.
It's just like we had nobody that could simulate number 3, and then there's that game speed kicks in. It takes you a while to adjust, and so same as with our receivers. Coach has done a great job this week. He worked on scramble periods where if Luke's out of the pocket, etc., our receivers coming back, whether he's inside or outside, depending on. So we're advancing, and it's a work in progress because we're very young, and we know that. So we're just now starting to get to that point where if Luke breaks the pocket or whoever, we're able to get receivers back in the right place where he's got an option or a check down to get to those guys. We haven't been able to do that yet just because of the changeovers, new offense, etc. So I think he's doing a heck of a job with that.
Look, let me ask you before we close, because we got to go to our first break. As I ask every week when you guys are here, when you left Friday night and you came back to practice, what did you say? What did you pick out yourself and critique yourself and say you had to work on?
Mainly just the mental game. I know, it gets tough out there when you're doing all you can, and sometimes it's not enough. We came up short at the end. But I just feel like as a whole we're doing a good job recovering and working and using that as motivation.
Traylon, what about for you when you left? I know. I say this. You ran over 200 yards. You go home and think, okay, what else could I have done? But I think everybody should critique themselves so they're ready for practice Monday morning. So what was that for you?
I mean, there's definitely mistakes in me picking up just fumbling the ball and everything. I mean, just meal errors.
Well, guys, I know you know that, and I know you're working hard on that, and I know you're going to be ready the 28th for Cherokee Bluff. I know you're going to be ready, and we're going to talk about Cherokee Bluff and more of that on the other side of the break. When we come back, we're going to have Chandler Kendall's going to be with us, and Will Mosley on our second half. Don't forget, we want to thank Circuit World, Papa's Pizza to Go, Pepsi, and I think that's about it, Luther. Let's take a break.
In 1981, Reed Nicholson began selling tires out of an old barn in Mineral Bluff. Little did he know that he had just laid the groundwork for the most trusted names in automotive services in the Blue Ridge area. In 1997, Nicholson Tire Center became what it is today, holding the same values of faith, family, and great customer service. 2 locations to serve you, and the Blue Ridge location is currently expanding to offer fast service and the largest U-Haul provider in Georgia. Nicholson Tire Center, Blue Ridge, and Mineral Bluff. Circuit World, with multiple locations to serve you in Murphy and Franklin, North Carolina, Blairsville, Blue Ridge, and Ellen, Georgia. Locally owned and operated since 1985. Appliances, electronics, and furniture. Name brand products like LG, Samsung, Dell, Whirlpool, Ashley, Catnapper, and more. No credit check, only 10% down on furniture, and only $10 down on any new lease purchase. Mention FYN10 for your special deal today at Circuit World.
All the things you do to me.
Folks, we're back. Joining us now in the second half is number 15, senior Chandler Kendall, receiver and safety, and also number 35, junior Will Mosley, running back and linebacker. Don't forget, you're watching Rebel Wrap-Up, and we're here at Circuit World in Blue Ridge. Want to thank them, Papa's Pizza to Go, and Pepsi for the meal and drink. We're here with head coach Chad Cheatham, wide receivers coach O'Neill. Now we're talking 3A Region 7 football, and it's the non-conference is over, so we're drilling down, and we're talking about some of these teams. And the team we have to talk about now is Cherokee Bluff. That's a new team in the region. If you're not used to it, they're over at Flowery Branch, and they're in the region this year, and that'll be the Rebels' first home game, September 28th. Now, before we get rolling, Chandler, I want to tell you something. I watch film on you today. I've watched film every week, and I know being a senior, not playing, I'll tell you what, you sure picked up on how to run some routes. I'll give you that, all right? I watched you cut across the middle of that field and catch and keep going, right, Coach?
Yes, sir.
So I'm going to give that to you. All right, before we get into too much with the players, Coach, you started a minute ago. Let's drill down on Cherokee Bluff. Let's tell the folks who they are, what you know about them.
Sure.
Coming up in 2 weeks.
Well, the new school out of Gainesville, they actually are in the new Flowery Branch High School, and then I think being home, the Flowery Branch moved back to the old stadium across from the Falcons complex. So, but don't let them fool you. Cherokee Bluff Bears, who they are, they're a good football team, and as young as they are, they've been in some football games. Had an opportunity to win some football games against some good opponents. Great the staff that's down there. I know their defense coordinator, Tyvus Dixon, very well. He goes back to my Raven days. And then the coach was at Decula. I mean, he's the head football coach now. And so we don't know a lot about them yet because they're going to play Friday night. We've seen highlights, we've seen clips, and we've looked at a little bit of film on them. Young but athletic. They get after it. They're not afraid to fly around to the football. They run downhill. They spread it out and throw it, and then also defensively they're a 3-4 scheme with the ability to shift a 4-3. So we're looking at a lot of movement up front as from a standpoint of blocking different fronts in different places like that. I think that the best thing that they have going for them is great coaching staff. Is bringing their young kids along. They play a lot of sophomores, freshmen, a few juniors, and a few seniors. But they're bringing them along and getting them ready to play in the region. And I think they're doing a really good job. Let
me ask you this, and this is for me and maybe somebody at home. Might sound like a strange question, but usually when they break out a new team out of an area, then it's a whole new program. Now, how did they decide, or what you've seen on film, of which kids went there, right, and what kind of returning talent that came onto that? When I say returning, but that played somewhere else. What it looks to me like, and I don't know every situation, but I think that when they were district, that there was a grandfather, maybe with possibly juniors or seniors, that they had the opportunity to go with Coach Hall and those guys and stay with Flowery Branch, or they can make a choice to stay at the Bluff. For instance, their quarterback, number 12, he was a backup at Flowery Branch. Well, he chose to stay, and he's a starting quarterback, and he's getting to take all the reps. And that's probably a smart decision on his part. Some of the rest of them moved on, but some of them stayed. So maybe those second line guys at Flowery Branch last year, maybe a junior or senior, they're actually playing a lot of football their junior, senior year, which is to be commended for them. So we're going to see a lot of kids that maybe last year did not get as much playing time, but because of the split, they're stepping up and may not have a depth of film on them also. No, we really don't. And the problem that you run into with that, even though they might have been the twos at Flowery Branch, and we know how good Flowery Branch is, their twos are pretty solid. Right. So they had several stay, and that just makes Cherokee Bluff that much better. Chandler, let me talk to you now. I don't want I don't want to go backwards. The 4 games are over. The non-conference. This is your first year playing. Talk about a little bit what I was talking with Luke about. Talk about these first 4 games and how you've gotten into your first year running routes, getting your timing down with your quarterback, and how that's been going.
Well, the first couple games have been like, you could tell it was probably rusty and stuff like that, but then throughout the games, I've becoming normal for me.
What do you think as far as the offense, and not to critique the entire offense from one person, but as far as the unit, what do you think as far as the offense you guys have to pull together in the next 10 days before your first region game? Some of the things, it's like, flags, missed assignments, timing a little off, big play downfield, getting a call back. What are some of those things that as a unit you guys have to come together before region?
We're doing pretty good, but the flags, like you said, we got to keep them down low, and then blocking the back's a big thing for us. We got to fix those, and then we should be pretty good.
Will, you're a junior in the backfield, and you had 11 carries for 47 yards, averaging 4.3. But it's just like I said, you do that 3 times, you got a first down. So I'll take 4 yards, 4.5 a carry all day long. You talk about the first 4 games and some of the things as far as running behind your line, how you guys have come together as a unit, and what you guys have to work together to accomplish in the next 10 days to beat Region 20.
Well, in the first couple games, we were a little bit rusty, but I guess we all kind of, got used to it, got used to running behind them. They got used to, how we run. So I think it's gotten a lot better since, the Gilmer game.
Coach, let's continue to drill down what are these things. What did you tell team? I mean, I get pumped up. Dave Garner said the other night, he says the other night, when it's region, I just get pumped up.
Oh, yeah.
So what did you
I
tell
think,
these guys?
well, here's one of the biggest things. We're at, we're going back and talking, and I know where it's over and over. We're at Lafayette. We go down and score, and then we lose our starting center, Mason Rose, and our leading tackler of the Gilmer game, our linebacker. We started moving folks around everywhere, trying to figure out a way to win the football game, trying to figure out a way to block people, and we were just out of sync. Continued on in, he didn't get well for Union, continued there. Well, then all of a sudden we get him back. And he just played on the offensive side of the ball, a little bit on the defensive side of the ball. But with him in the game, and you say with Will at linebacker, with Mason and Will and Mike at the linebacker, it's so much more comfortable for them together because they spent the preseason together and they spent all those games together. So now that he's back and he's healthy, on the offensive line, he's back at center. Our true guards are back at our true guards. Our tackles are back and our tight end. We're able to start advancing more now that we get that guy back. And I think it helps them and gives them confidence also when Mason's under center and they know he's going to be blocking for them.
Let me ask you that also, Will. Let me go with you, and I know you play safety, Chandler, on the defense, but as a linebacker on the first four games, I would say it's important in those 4 games to adjust to different speed, different talent coming through the line, and to be able to make those adjustments faster as a team and pick up on that. Do you guys as a defensive unit feel you're getting to the point that you can pick up on this talent you're playing against early on in the game, and then also what do you guys have to do to close? I mean, I just got to say it like that. You guys have been in positions to where you're there, but you got to close that fourth quarter. So talk to me about that.
Yeah, in the first drive, I really feel like we can pick up on what they're going to give us talent-wise, and we just got to make stops at the end of the game. It's that simple. We got to stop them.
Well, I don't know how somebody's going to receive it out there, but I think when kickoff was Friday night, hey, somebody comes out on the top and the bottom, but kickoff Friday night I think it was around 90 degrees, and it's been some tough heat. So the one thing I don't want to come across on this camera is coming off hard in any way whatsoever on some guys who was out there all night and had a tough game. But I had to ask that. Coach, on over here, as playing the game and knowing how important it is to be able to break down film, I mean, practicing on the field is one thing, but breaking down film, when you have a team like Cherokee Bluff, what are some of the things you've seen on film, and is there any kind of difficulties that you go through because there's not a lot to see on these guys, or do you have to go into film for some of these other players at other schools and look at them there?
No, I mean, like Coach Cheatham said, you know, they do spread the ball out a lot. They try to get it to a lot of guys. They are young, but they do have some talent. I was talking to the wide receivers today. They have 2 corners that play man coverage very well. But at the end of the day, you have what you have. And it's our job as coaches to build the best game plan that we can around what we have. As far as watching film from other schools, you know, we may, it just depends on who we know and who can send us film. But at the end of the day, I mean, as far as finishing games, I mean, that's when we got to play our best. I mean, when our game plan comes together, we have to play our best. Then,
you know, in the big tell off him, when you're in your first 4 weeks as a new staff and a new program, you're constantly teaching fundamentals.
Right.
You're spending most of your time in practice teaching blocking and tackling, putting in your schemes, installing your schemes, etc. We're at the point now where we can actually focus on an opponent and start breaking them down and quit. You know, I'm not saying not go back to the fundamentals of the game, because we always have to do that in certain ways. But now we can look at specifics. Okay, when they go here, we think they're coming here and they're going there. And when they line up here, when they do that, and we feel like this linebacker's coming here, we've seen him on film. And so now I feel like we're better able to game plan and get it across to the kids, so that they're not so much thinking about what do I do in a scheme, but now that I see what they're doing, I can fix my scheme to it. If that makes sense.
No, it does, because I say week after week during non-conferences is this is the time you got to be going back over the weekend and starting to see the adjustments, starting to see where you have to be, and having to see the progress in the team in those areas. You want it to be on the scoreboard, but at the same time, you do want to go in the next day and say, I watched this player and I see where this is coming along here and this is coming along here. We're going to have to close, guys, but I want to ask both of you a question. I want to wrap up with Coach here. What did you say when you left Friday night? What did you say, Will, when you went back to practice that you could critique yourself, that you needed to work on, you needed to get better at?
Open field tackling, definitely. We can't let guys like that just run around at all. He's too athletic and too fast.
And like I said in the first set, is that guy will be different, but you guys are in a power region. You're going to see somebody like that every Friday night now. Mm-hmm. What about you, Chandler? What was it when you left the other night that you came back and said, I need to improve on, I need to work on?
Open field tackling, like Will said, but I also got to get better at reading the run game faster. We should be good.
Adjusting the speed. That seems to be what we talk about year in, year out in high school football, right, Coach?
Exactly right.
High school football, we're always talking about adjusting speed. Now, I want to ask you one more thing before we go. I want to say this. I don't know what I want to hear what a Coach Cheatham says to these guys after non-conference is over. Maybe it'll be next week, but it's 0-0.
That's right.
How do you talk to these guys about going into now the opponents they're going to see?
That's like I told them at halftime when it was 29 to 16. It's 0-0, guys. And, you know, you got to put the pass behind you and press to the finish. And I think I said finish about 20 times in the locker room at halftime. And now there's several seasons. Preseason's over. Non-conference is over. Now it's time to get to the nitty-gritty. We got to push forward every week. We got to be better in our preparation every week. And like they said, like you said, close it, finish it when we have the opportunity.
I hope the temperature does not drop drastically, but just enough on Friday night.
I hope so, too.
Okay, we'll put that in our prayers. Thank you very much.
Yes,
thank you, guys. Hey, folks, let me just tell you, let me just go over this real quick. We're talking 3A Region 7. Now, the Fannin Rebels are off this Friday night, and they will be home on the 28th. But North Hall is away at Cherokee Bluff. They'll be over at Cherokee Bluff. Dawson County will be home at Lumpkin County. And I'm going to head over there and check that game out Friday night. Greater Atlanta Christian will be home against East Hall. So that's the matchups for the region. And want to thank Coach Chad Cheatham here. We want to thank Circuit World here in Blue Ridge. Every week, this is a great location where we've been doing this show now 4 years. So we want to thank Circuit World. We want to thank Papa's Pizza to Go for the meal, Pepsi for the drinks. Don't forget, every Monday morning at 10 a.m., on FYNTV.com is Dave Gardner's Instant Replay, the only live sports show in North Georgia online. So that's Monday, 10 a.m. And I guess I'm running out of things. Follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook, Team FYN Sports. Don't forget, Team FYN Sports always highlighting and promoting young athletes in a positive way. We're out.